Which pitchers are going to take that big step forward and become aces in 2023? Let's find out. I'm going to start with Aaron Ashby. I mean, he was rostered a lot and times last year. He was kind of bounced back and forth between the rotation and the bullpen. Had some really good moments, had a couple of down moments. Overall, the year-end stats don't look overwhelming. Got an ERA over 4. Struck out a good amount of batters. People aren't quite sure what to make of him. Scared to go all in on him. I will tell you right now, I'm all in on him. I had a lot of him last year. I think he just gets better. Milwaukee is obviously a good place for pitchers. As you can see, have one of the best staffs in baseball. This is a guy who's got everything you'd look for. A 5-pitch mix, mainly a sinker slider guy, which is good because he induces a ton of ground balls. He had a 57% ground ball rate last year. He's a guy who will not give up a ton of home runs or hard contact. 26% K rate. Aaron Ashby, a guy I'm very high on. And you know we have to have a Marlins pitcher in here. So let's talk Edward Cabrera. This is a guy who really could have broken out last year if not for injury. Had a 3.01 ERA and a 1.07 whip in 14 starts. The park factor works in his favor playing in Marlins Park. He also has a 5-pitch mix. I mean, you think for such a big guy that he'd be a flamethrower. He's got some good velocity, but he is somebody who knows his craft and can work around batters with different variety of pitches. Everything in his favor. If he's healthy, this could really be a really excellent year for him. Now, there are a couple young Reds pitchers that are promising. I love Hunter Green, but I'm going to go with Nick Lodolo for right now. He's a guy who really showed some of his electric stuff last year. He's somebody who pitched to a 3.66 ERA. That was supported by a 3.29 Sierra, which is skill independent ERA. Actually managed to keep his ratios pretty low despite pitching in Cincinnati. One thing he definitely can do, which you should always be interested in fantasy, is strike out a ton of batters. 30% strikeout rate. That was the 8th highest in terms of strikeouts per 9 innings. That's what you always want to chase because when the strikeouts come, usually the ratios stay low. Look, if you're in a league where wins are still a category, a typical 5x5 roto, can't promise you that he'll even get to double digits there. If you can nail down the strikeouts and he keeps that ERA low, you'll be very happy with him. And then on the flip side, we have George Kirby. This is a guy who will definitely not overpower batters. He had a swinging strike rate under 10%, but he at least managed to keep his K rate about league average. But here's what he does. He eats innings like mad. And he will get wins because he is in Seattle, which is a pretty solid team. He does not get himself into trouble. His walk rate is elite. Elite meaning 96th percentile. A 4% walk rate. You're not going to get a ton of Ks like you would with a guy like Lodolo, as I mentioned before, but you're going to get a guy who's got a really safe floor. Wouldn't be surprised if he's among the league leaders in quality starts and even wins. While you don't have those elite Ks, you do get everything else. Now, if you know prospects, then you already knew Mackenzie Gore. He was one of the key parts of that Juan Soto trade. He was the number 3 pick and the top prospect of all pitchers for the last couple of years. But this is a guy who looked like he had really figured out last year. He was dominant, looking like he's a guy who might win Rookie of the Year. And then there was a pretty big bump in the road, and that came in the form of back-to-back starts against Colorado where he got thrashed. And then one more bad outing against the Giants later on. All of a sudden that ERA more than doubled. Got traded, got injured, end of story. And people will forget that Mackenzie Gore was so good the first couple of months when he was pitching and was an elite pitching prospect. He still has that great stuff. He still has this 4-pitch mix, can be an ace for a staff, and he will get that opportunity in Washington. Don't forget about Gore. Injury didn't seem like it was anything too serious. He'll be fine for opening day. Definitely worth taking a shot on. This is a guy who could break out in an elite way. And then when we talk breakouts, you know what? Usually stick to starting pitchers. It's very risky to go with a closer, but let's end with one. I have to talk about Juan Duran. If you want to talk flamethrowers, here we go. How about a guy who averages 101 on his fastball? And that is his main pitch. He was lights out last year when given the ball. 1.86 ERA, 0.98 whip. If you look at his StatCast chart, it is a sea of red. Despite that, only 8 saves last year. This is a team that was kind of in flux last year, thought they would contend, really didn't. And then they picked up Jorge Lopez from Baltimore. He wasn't that great when he got to Minnesota. He did save 4 games, but the ERA was a lot higher. It's pretty clear, even though Lopez has been pretty good the last couple of years, has kind of come on. Duran is the guy who's just so talented. It's hard to ignore him. I'm going to take a chance and say that he will get enough saves to be roster worthy in nearly every roto league. If nothing else, he's going to pick up a ton of strikeouts. So I love the ratios as well. Duran is a guy I think could be an elite closer by year's end. Those are the pitchers I'm banking on a breakout for in 2023. You want to know who's going to do the same for hitters? Check out this video right here.